Well, welcome to episode number 9 of the Late Shifts. Is this technically a podcast or is this a YouTube channel? I don't really know. We don't actually upload it to any podcasting services.
Well, you have 2 subscribers.
Well,
So
we could. I do get an audio only feed of this, so it's
what I'm
possible.
saying is that we can really call it whatever we want. And I
Welcome
don't think
to
anyone's going to call us on it.
welcome to episode 9 of this. The
Late Shifts.
We are here to talk Dan's fantasy football team and the NFL trade dedeadline because
big news on both fronts, maybe. Possibly.
everything happened on all the
Foreshadowing.
things. First of all, I just want to pour one out for my Giants. Richie James fumbling twice on punt returns sealed the deal. I think it was a winnable game, and I'm fine with us losing it. So
I believe both of us were expecting a loss given the time frame. If I remember correctly, when we were looking at it last week, I think we both thought this was a loss. It ended up being closer. I mean, it's that East Coast to West Coast. You never know.
yeah, it was. There's a lot of things that happened, so that's all good. I'm fine with it. And the fact that we moved Tony and did no other action on the trade deadline shows me we are not all in on this year. That I like the decision by Joe and company to just say we're going to play for the future, and we don't need to mortgage anything to bring in a receiver, even though we're 6-2. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, and I like that deal honestly for both sides.
yep.
If he turns out, that's a great deal for Kansas City. If he doesn't turn out, I mean, I think either way, it's a fantastic deal for the Giants given the situation.
Yep.
To get anything from him, much less a third rounder. I know it's a compensatory pick.
Yeah.
So yeah, fine, late third rounder, but still, that's still top half of the draft. You're still potential there. And for a guy who's literally played what, 2 games, 2 whole games.
Yep. And I my only regret, and there's no way to change this, is I wish he'd played one more good game before we traded him. Like if he had been able to play last week somehow and put up 70 yards and a touchdown, then maybe we could have squeezed a little more juice out of the olive, you know? Because imagine a world where we get Chase Claypool because it was a 2nd round pick. I can imagine that world. Now it didn't
And you
happen.
mentioned that at the beginning. You were hoping that they get Chase Claypool.
Yep, but
They did not.
yeah, I mean, I didn't want to pay a 2nd round pick for him either. Now, I would have. I would be very happy right now if that's the deal we had.
And I wish you would have.
Well, let's talk about Chase Claypool because the Giants are going to Giants. And as we'll get to my team, there probably won't be any more Giants on my team after this week. But what do you think of the Claypool deal for the Bears?
I think they needed to do it just to give Justin Fields talent, any kind of talent around him. He's got guys that have had flashes. And yeah, I know Chase hasn't been the most consistent guy, but he is by far and away the most talented wide receiver on that team now.
Oh, on the Bears. Yeah, for sure. For sure. I was like, I mean, they're pretty good in Pittsburgh. I don't know if I'd say far and away. Like they've got 3 guys that are really good.
I'm not comparing him to where you had been.
You really like Chase Claypool.
Yeah. I do like him. I think he's good. Giving up a 2nd rounder, that's expensive, especially with Chicago being bad this year. I mean, they could turn it around. Justin Fields has the ability to win them games, as he proved playing against Dallas. He could play.
I mean, I think their offense can turn around. Their defense, after trading away 2 huge pieces in Roquan Smith and I forget the other guy, but like their defense went from pretty good to So I don't think they're going to turn it around is what I'm saying. But the offense, they'll actually know if they have a quarterback.
Yes. And that's more important to them than that 2nd round draft pick.
Agreed. Well,
again, it's going to be interesting. I was kind of hoping that they wouldn't do that. and then they would like not realize what they had in Justin Fields. Because if anyone has watched this podcast, Justin Fields is legit and he's going to prove it. And he did. I mean, admittedly, they still got blown out by Dallas.
Yeah.
But he's good.
Spoilers for later in the podcast, but I'm really hoping I can pick up Chase Claypool and change my team name to Fly Me to the Claypool. So there's always hope. We'll get to that.
We'll just keep open for that.
We'll get to that. Any other thoughts on trades? Nyheim Hines to the Bills.
And again, like we were talking about with the Bills, they clearly have no faith in that backfield. They dealt Zach Moss after they drafted him pretty high, and they clearly knew that
he was a third.
Yep. And they give him for Nyheim Hines, which, hey, he's okay.
And a 6th round, okay.
Okay, fine. Yeah, I forgot about the 6th rounder. But no, I think that was a very good deal for Buffalo.
Yeah.
Yes, they had drafted Zach Moss high. That still is not a lot to give up for him at this point.
Yeah.
Because Zach Moss doesn't get you anything right now.
And they drafted what's the rookie? The rookie running back on Buffalo. James Cook. James Cook.
Yes.
But they clearly don't trust him. He had those fumbles earlier in the season, and for whatever reason, he's getting a few touches a game, but they're not gonna give him the ball. And now I think they have the best wide receiver on that team. I mean, sorry, the best running back on that team, who's basically a wide receiver. Like,
right.
I was listening to a podcast today, just reacting to all the trades, and they're like, what's scary is now on 3rd down, they just split Nyheim Hines out wide and Allen is the running back, but they have this weapon that they haven't had. They're like, we've seen the Bills on 3rd down or in running situations before, but now they have Christian McCaffrey light, right? Maybe not the runner, but the receiver. Right. That's terrifying.
Yeah, he's certainly not as explosive.
No.
But he's as sure-handed as they come, and he's a great route runner. Like, he honestly can do that out of the backfield.
Yep.
What I would be really interested in seeing with them in those 3rd down packages, split Nyheim Hines out wide, put a fullback in to like block for Josh Allen, have him take it out of the shotgun with a fullback, and he could run in behind a fullback.
Yeah, 4 wide with a fullback.
Yeah.
Like 3 linemen.
Because they at that point, they can't just load the box with extra linemen or linebackers.
Then it's 1-on-1 across the board out there.
Yeah. And like, okay, is a slot corner going to like tackle Josh Allen when he's going full speed?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Do you want to have 1-on-1 with Nyheim Hines, Steph Diggs, and Gabe Davis? Like, I don't want no. And Dawson Knox? Like, come on.
Here's
Isaiah McKenzie.
Here's the crazy thing too. We're talking about deals. What if Buffalo hadn't made that deal for Diggs and picked Justin Jefferson?
Oh man.
Like, by all means, Stephon Diggs is amazing. But like the youth and like the downfield threat of Justin Jefferson, which he is now.
Yeah.
Like, that would have been insane. It still is insane right now, but that's crazy.
Anyway, there's plenty more things to talk about. The running back swap of Chase Edmonds and Jeff Wilson, like the corral that goes round and round, was fascinating. It'll be interesting to watch. I don't really have thoughts other than like, he's like, get me away from Christian McCaffrey because he's the greatest player in the universe, throwing a touchdown, passing, like receiving a touchdown, rushing a touchdown.
Yeah, it's funny because I think he just saw like, oh my gosh, my usage is gone now. This guy can just do everything.
Yeah, he was probably like, praise the Lord, I'm traded.
Thank you.
Okay, last one I really want to talk about, other than saying that Miami's defense might actually be good now with their trade. And so we'll
They
talk
just
about,
shored up their linebacking core completely.
yeah, we'll talk about that, I think, when we get to waivers. But the TJ Hawkinson to the Vikings is fascinating.
I was not expecting them to get a tight end of his ability and his pedigree.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, they gave up a second rounder, but they still have him next year as well.
Yep.
And, if it's a good fit and they can sign him long-term, great. Right now, this allows them to just move on completely from Irv Smith, who unfortunately complete bust.
Yeah.
And he's got ability still, but the injuries, he just
Yep.
cannot stay on the field.
Yeah. It's fair.
That's going to be interesting to see how he's utilized in there, because even more so than what they had with Irv Smith, he gives them a legit passing threat in the tight end spot.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see them spread the field.
And he's a good blocker. He's just a
Yes.
good tight end. Like, he's quality across the board.
Yeah, he's like a Gronk Jr.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like,
that's exactly
there's
what I was
no
going to say.
way am I comparing him to Gronk.
No.
In terms of his skill set, he's got that kind of well-rounded ability.
Yeah.
And by all means, they need the help in the run game.
Yeah.
For more blocking.
Yeah.
So
And they need a real threat on the field to go with Jefferson.
Yeah.
At the tight end. So, all right. Well, let's talk a little bit about last week. Before I show you anything, I'll just go out and say that the week started poorly, as I put Gus Edwards in my running back slot, and I was watching the game. He was running good. He looked good. I knew he wasn't going to get all the work, but like, he did good. And then he rips off this 20-yard run at the end of it, like jams his knee into the ground and hamstring strain, and he's out the top of the fourth quarter as he's running, like,
yeah.
and I'm like, great. Now I've got 6.5 points from him. Like, that's not going to be enough. This is stupid. I hate fantasy football.
I think I did get that text.
I was literally talking to Bethany, like, I'm not caring about this league anymore. This is just for fun, but come on. So that was a low. The other low on my roster, we already talked about one of them, which was the Giants. Danny Dimes was slotted in. He was ranked number 8 by experts. Everybody thought he'd have a decent game. He had 20 rushing yards, which is a season low, and 176 passing yards, which is pretty much his average, and 0 touchdowns.
Yeah,
9.04 fantasy points. Even Russell Wilson had 15. You know what I mean? Like, come on. And then because of that, Wan'Dale Robinson, 2.5 points, 2 receptions, 15 yards. They was just bad. So, I wasn't feeling great about that. But the third dagger, and I'll show my screen now. The third dagger was my bench. Luckily, Bateman, I did not put in the game, even though he played, because he aggravated his foot. He's out for weeks. Like, we don't know when he's coming back. But the dagger was Jamal Williams.
The week after we play him last week, he does nothing.
And then Swift comes back and he's a monster.
Yeah.
Like, 2 rushing touchdowns is absurd, but
right.
The dude had 3 receptions for 23 yards and like 50 rushing yards and like 10 carries. He was crushing it. Like, literally 10 carries, 50 yards, 5 yards a carry, 5.3. That's great. So what do I do next week? Anyway, that drove me nuts.
Yeah.
And Justin Fields against Dallas. I know he's the real deal, but like 30.
And here's how crazy that is. I was behind him all the way, and I was like, you can't start him against Dallas.
Yeah.
Apparently, you can start him against everyone now.
Lucky for me, Dallas still managed to put up 16, with some return yards. They got that touchdown, which was insane. I messaged
did
you.
See the text that you sent to me saying Justin Fields coming up huge.
Did you watch the replay?
I didn't. I
will pull it up at the end of this because, you have to see it because
Yeah.
literally Justin Fields like hurdles Parsons and Parsons is like, well, he didn't touch me, and then runs into the end zone. So that was amazing. And then the rest of my team, I just Tyler Bass did Bass things. That's fine. You know, he's on the best offense in the league, arguably. Deontay Foreman, 3 rushing touchdowns, a 2-point conversion, 118 yards. Who needs Christian McCaffrey when you've got new bionic Achilles Deontay Foreman, right? Holy, what the? He literally turned to the camera at one point and said, "They can't effing stop me." The dude was fired up.
Yeah. And
Oh.
I mean, yeah, it's Atlanta. They can't stop anyone. But kudos for you for doing it with Carolina.
Dude. And they've been okay against the run. It's the pass that Atlanta was
Yeah.
bad against. So, like,
Yeah.
what? Anyway, that was insane. Kyle Pitts, like,
Finally, look at that. He's
the
only
best-
9 weeks into the season.
the best part was the touchdown. He was the third read. Mariota's like, not open, not open. Oh, Giant alone in the end zone.
Even like the joke we've been making for like 5 weeks now.
But you got to be encouraged with the 9 targets.
Yes.
I know that ended up with 4 targets the week before, but like we've said, Chargers, Carolina is the team they just played. Chicago's offense. At least Washington sometimes put up points. Maybe Pitt will do something. Like, these are going to be shootouts. I'm fine with it's going to be fine. Thanks,
Yep.
Kyle. So
That-
even
the
Kyle
New
Pitts
Orleans
came
game,
through.
That's going to be crazy. Interdivisional.
Yeah.
Who knows what'll happen?
Yeah. Ayuk came through big, mostly thanks to Christian McCaffrey tossing him a touchdown pass.
Isn't that great that now Christian McCaffrey can make your wide receivers better? Like, he's so good that he makes everyone on your team better.
The only part that scares me is when Debo comes back, there's too many mouths. He's going to score all the touchdowns.
Well, yeah, that's fair. I mean, and he even like paved the way for like Deontay Foreman to get touches. Literally, this week was like courtesy of Christian McCaffrey.
Yes.
This was Christian McCaffrey's gift to you for drafting him first overall.
Yeah, this is
Like, you know
McCaffrey
what,
saying, Dan, I see you. I know you went all in on running backs and you got screwed by the injury bug. I see you and I'm here for you.
You've been hurt too much. I'm here this week. We make this turn around.
So that was great. I still didn't score the most points in the week because I started Daniel Jones and Wandale, but that's fine.
You know what? When you can get like 31 points from almost 32 points from technically a backup running back.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a good week for me. I felt bad for my opponent over here who didn't do poorly.
No.
Didn't start Mariota, which, you know, he should have jettisoned Russ a long time ago for Mariota.
Yeah, I don't know what he's starting that. But
look at this. Remember when he was on our team?
Yeah.
Of course
Yeah,
he shows up
dude.
now, right?
Yep, against Buffalo. Sure, why not?
Yeah. Well, all right. So that was last week. Things went great. We're on 7th place now. But here's next week.
Climbing
Here's
that
the issue.
ladder.
Here's the problem. We got Wandale on bye. We got Dallas on bye. We got Ayuk on bye. Pickens on bye. McCaffrey on bye. Jones on bye. Bateman on IR. So,
Also,
I think,
Jamal Williams did that and then he got injured.
no, this
Oh, no,
is
that's a different
this
one.
is
I
this
forgot
is
you got.
this is Jameson
I
still
forgot you
chilling,
got Jameson on your
just
team.
in case, you know.
I was gonna say, like, I thought, did I miss that? Did I miss him getting injured?
No, he's eternal.
Anyway.
No, he's starting, baby. You know
Oh,
who
you
else is-
have to start him with like 3/4 of your team on bye. You've got to start him.
So, okay, first things first. I gotta fix my wide receivers. And
you mean having a wide receiver would be a good idea because you literally don't have a wide receiver on your team right now?
I've got a 7% chance.
With no wide receivers? That's amazing.
60 to 113 projection. I'm going against Josh Allen. He's projected for 30 points. It's a projection.
Against the Jets, so it could be.
Look. 37, 30, 25, 43,
Oh my
32.
gosh.
That's a minimum. That's a floor.
Yeah, you're I mean, that's crazy.
How is he
That is-
4-4? He's got Josh Allen. Anyway,
Well, the problem is that he's clearly starting Irv Smith
yeah,
and
he's
has been for weeks now.
yeah, this is a mess. Anyway, so going to my team here. Here's what happened. Here's all the good things. 25% of my points from Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah,
Love
yeah.
that. If you go to my team, my roster, you'll see.
Brought to you by Arby's Diablo sandwich, which looks terrible.
Yeah, of course, it's
Oh.
Arby's.
Oh, I know it's Arby's, but that's like almost 2 Arby's for Arby's.
Yeah, yeah. So
Anyway.
here's my plan. Step 1, fly
Yep.
me to the Claypool.
Yep.
Step 2, if that doesn't
Move that
work,
pool.
if we can't get Claypool, we go for Garrett Wilson again.
Okay.
I don't want him, but I'll show you the waiver wire. Like,
Oh no. I
so,
was gonna say it's gotta be real rough if you're reaching back for Mooney again.
and Garrett Wilson, guys who've already been on my team.
On your team and we're cut for not being good enough.
Yeah.
And then
Uh-huh.
it's like, oh, maybe I do need.
So order of importance, Claypool's number 1. Josh Palmer might actually be number 2 with Keenan or
Yeah.
Keenan. It would be Keenan and Palmer because Mike
That's-
Williams is hurt.
Last year, when Keenan Allen was out, Josh Palmer had a couple games.
Yep. And he's been where is he? Show me Josh. P. Nope. Show me wide receivers.
Survey says.
Okay, where are you, Josh? There he is. So he's had some games, 11, 13,
Yeah.
10.
Yeah.
He got concussed here, so that's not like he got a concussion here, I think.
Right, but then he's got the bye week.
Yeah, so I think, he had 12 targets this week.
Ooh, and I like that against Atlanta.
Right. So I think maybe him and Claypool are my number 1 and number 2.
Yes.
And then if that doesn't work, I'll take Garrett and Mooney.
Yeah.
Because Mooney has been fine ever since I dropped him here.
Yeah.
And he might actually do better with Claypool. You know what I mean? As a number 2 to pull some
Yeah.
of the coverage.
Yeah, pull the kind of the Juju
Yeah.
Smith-Schuster.
But
role.
like, aside from those guys, do I want Braxton Berrios? Do I want
No.
Mac Hollins? Zay Jones? Like, there's nothing. This is a wasteland.
Marvin Jones Jr.
I can't even do Darius Slayton because he's on a bye. So, do you have any other thoughts? Do we agree here?
No, I think we agree. Josh Palmer and Chase Claypool would be the 1A, 1B. I like, especially with Claypool, if you can have that handcuff with him and Justin Fields.
Mhm.
I think Justin Fields is going to feed him to try to figure. They're going to try to figure out what they've got. Yeah, he won't have the full offense, but I wouldn't be surprised if they worked in a few scripted plays for him.
Yeah. Okay. You want to know the most frustrating thing? Remember how I dropped somebody for Fields for you last week?
Yes, I do.
That was my 5th waiver wire or my 5th pickup of the week, which maxed out my acquisitions. Someone dropped Jerry Jeudy, and I could have picked up Jerry Jeudy off the waiver wire but I had no more. I couldn't do it, even though he went cleared waivers because I had no acquisitions left.
There's an acquisitions limit?
5 acquisitions limit, 5 transactions.
Yeah, just standard.
Everything's
Fantasy.
standard. So it's fine. I just wanted you to know so you'd be frustrated.
No, that's okay. Oh my gosh. Wow. Well, I'm glad you got Justin Fields because that makes me happy.
Yeah.
Makes me more happy than if Jerry Jeudy was on your team, even
Yes.
if I think that would be probably, well, maybe for the better, but I mean, otherwise you didn't have a QB.
It's equivalent. Yeah. It's fine.
So Yeah, it's all right.
This is
At
more
least you
fun.
know you've got a QB that you can roll.
This is more fun. After this week, it'll be Ayuk and George, going forward, and maybe Claypool, right? It'll be fine.
Yep.
For defense, I'm not dropping Dallas. And so I think my options, we're looking at
New York versus Buffalo.
we're looking at Kansas City, I think is a decent option at Tennessee, or Miami at Chicago, just to hedge my
I don't
bets.
like that Miami at Chicago. I know we talked about them fixing their defense a little bit, but I think that's going to take time to gel. And
Yeah, that's
I
fine. They
don't
haven't
like
been
that it's
good
like-
anyway. They weren't my top choice before. The other option, I think if Kansas City's number one, right? They've been up and down, but like off the bye against backup quarterback,
Yeah.
like even if Derrick Henry's Derrick Henry, there's got to be something that happens.
Well, and it's one of those things with a backup quarterback, you're going to stack the box and be like, we're not going to let Derrick Henry beat us unless he does anyway. But then at that point, what can you do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if for some reason I can't get them because of waivers, other options would be Jacksonville, but I don't feel great about that. Even though they put up the goose egg last week, it's just a little scary.
Yeah. I mean, Las Vegas is bad,
Right.
but then also we kind of think Jacksonville is.
Yeah. Who did Jacksonville traded for someone? Who did they get?
Yes, they did. He's not going to help them this year, though.
Oh, yeah, Calvin Ridley. Oh my
That's
word,
right.
that trade
That
is a great
again,
trade.
though, I like that as long as his head's at least close to the
Did you
earth.
see the structure of the trade?
I did. I had to I was like, wait, so if they win a playoff game, the draft pick gets worse?
My understanding was if he stays on the roster, it's a 4th round pick.
Yeah.
If
Well, it's a 4th round pick, and then there's another pick.
Well, my understanding was 4th round pick becomes 3rd round pick if he meets certain incentives.
Yes.
And 3rd round pick becomes 2nd round pick if they extend him.
Yes, but wasn't there another pick involved? Or am I thinking of a different deal?
I think that's a different deal, but
Okay, never mind.
um
Yes, so it could potentially be a 2nd rounder.
and for who he was, that's cheap.
Easily. He was easily 1st round talent.
Yeah.
And what you're saying is that he's worth a 2nd rounder if you re-sign him, and at that point he had to have committed him, like he
Right,
had
he's
to have
playing
done
football.
well,
Yep.
unless you're idiotic, and maybe Jacksonville is, and he's terrible, and you extend him anyway just to give up that 2nd
But
round.
I love the move to say, Trevor Lawrence, we believe you're it. We're gonna get you a guy, and it's not about this year, it's about the
Right.
future. It's great. Anyway, so
And that team with ETN and Ridley, and yeah, that's going to be interesting.
yeah, I completely agree. My last thought, if those aren't an option, my actual number 2, tell me what you think of this. This is not recommended by any experts, but recommended by this expert, which
yeah.
always goes well.
This 4-4 expert.
After watching Monday Night Football, I thought to myself, what if I played Carolina's defense against Joe Burrow and Cincinnati without Jamar Chase? What if they destroy Cincinnati? So we better hope we get the Chiefs.
I kind of hope.
Big brain.
I mean, every now and then you've got to zig when everyone else is zagging.
My
You've
brain.
got to think like, this is gonna work. And then,
My brain is so big. Look at this. Look at this defense. Yeah, they got crushed by Cleveland, but double digit against teams, right?
yeah,
Against
that's
teams.
actually-
Their defense isn't bad.
yeah.
And now they got rid of Christian McCaffrey, that dead weight. And so they are just gonna to the
Well,
moon.
All they needed, because now they've got Deontay Foreman. Like his time to shine is now.
But in all
He's bounced
seriousness,
around the league and he's ready.
what I saw from the Bengals was an offensive line that can't block and a Joe Burrow that doesn't know what to do without Jamar Chase. And I think as long as I think Carolina actually has good corners and good linebackers, as
Mhm.
long as they can shut down what has been not a strength for the Bengals and Joe Mixon, it'll be a good game with a lot of sacks taken by Joe Burrow, which is points.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, it's one of those things where he could lock into T. Higgins
We could.
potentially,
Yep.
but I don't know.
Yeah, and they couldn't figure it out against Cleveland, and I don't think a Cleveland has like a lockdown defense.
No,
So,
I don't think. No, Cleveland.
so
Okay,
just-
yeah. You know what? You've won me over, Dan.
now I really want to not get Kansas City because this would be the greatest swag move ever.
I mean, do you make that the 1A now?
Oh,
Do
no.
you make Carolina?
Then I roll only Carolina players or former Carolina players. Where's
You're
Robbie
just
Anderson?
all in after they get
Okay. While we're talking about it, is there any reason to consider Terrence Marshall? Do you know who that is?
I mean, is there? I don't know. I have no idea who that is.
Let's go back. Once upon a time, Christian McCaffrey played for the Panthers.
Yeah.
Before he got traded, someone else got traded named Robbie Anderson. When
Yeah.
Robbie Anderson vacated his spot, it was filled by a young man named Terrence Marshall. Terrence Marshall has had multiple receptions in 3 of his last 4 games, culminated by 9 for 87 against Atlanta last week.
We know that Atlanta struggles, but
He's projected for 3.14 fantasy points next week. But he played 93% of snaps. And he is locked in as the
okay. He was drafted pretty high too.
yeah, he's no slub.
Yeah, I'm kind of remembering now. Yeah, he might be a good candidate for your Carolina insanity team.
So if being such a high waiver claim now at number 7, if I miss out on any of these guys, I'm gonna go out there and grab 1% rostered Terrence Marshall.
I mean, the most likely thing is that he'll be available.
Yeah. Yep.
So
All right, last question regarding my fantasy team is this. Say we get all those players, right?
yep,
We've still got a problem,
of who to cut.
and that's running back 2.
Oh yeah.
I would love
You
to
mean
play.
your Isaiah Pacheco?
I would love to play Gus Bus, but it's Monday night and it's a hamstring.
You know,
That's terrifying.
you know.
And so if no one picks up Kenyon Drake, I could like wait and grab Drake off the waivers if he's out, but like odds that happens, and do I really want to play with like bleh.
And you have to remember that it is Kenyon Drake.
Yes. And so
And this
it's
wasn't like the 6 games that he played for Arizona.
do I just pray to the Gus Bus, pray for his health and longevity, that he comes back from a quote mild hamstring strain, which is terrifying. Do I roll out the starter for Kansas City, Isaiah Pacheco?
I mean, he got 10 points.
So I read an article from where Andy Reid came out and talked more about it, and he said, yeah, we wanted to get him more touches. We wanted his touches to be more in line with the other guys. And we knew that McKissick would get his shots, and we knew that Clyde was going to get his thing. And so we wanted to get him at least 10 touches. So what Andy Reid is saying is he is a 3-headed monster, and he likes it that way.
Yeah.
But there are some things he likes about Isaiah Pacheco. And so he's going to get 10 carries in a high-powered offense. And if previous stats hold true. His 10 points that he got, some of that is from, he had 8 attempts for 43 yards, but I don't really know how to
Pretty
see
good
it.
average.
But he added like 40 return yards because he's still their primary return man. And so in a league that doesn't make any sense,
Right, in
that-
a league that has standard scoring.
you know, there's
Yeah,
there's a chance he's at least worth a bye week fill in when my whole team is on bye.
right.
Let's see if I can see. Yeah, he had, oh no, that was 2 weeks ago. So this is week 7 I'm looking at. He had 126 return yards. So I don't know that he's always going to get that.
No,
But you know, that gave him 6.3 of his 10 points.
return specialist.
So yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I would trust him over Bus Gus.
well, so the other option is to launch him into the sun, and go
I
back to
think
the,
out of everything that we've done so far, that's what you're good at. You're good at just jettisoning players.
here are the options in the waiver wire. Jeff Wilson Jr., Damian Harris, Chase, I know he's on a bye. Rashad White, back on the roster,
Back again.
back to
Hello,
the
old
well.
friend.
Or or Kenyon Drake, right? We just kept Kenyon Drake and have him as the insurance policy. Which, you know, when he started against the Giants, he had 20 points. Against
Yeah.
Tampa Bay, he had 15. So like he
Right.
produces when he gets all the work.
Yeah. Just
Or I just don't do anything and wait and see if someone drops somebody that I can scoop. Because I'm not like, I'm dropping right now Danny Dimes, Wandale Robinson, and that's it, right? I can keep everyone else on
Yeah.
my roster. The only other
Yeah.
person I could drop is Isaiah Pacheco.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I think what you're saying is Isaiah's at least got some built-in, like the return yards. Yeah, they're mercurial, but he could get those, you know, at least some to kind of supplement his value. Maybe that he gets a touchdown or something like that, and then
Yeah.
he could be like that 10 to 15 point guy.
Yeah, and again, right now I'm projected for 60 points. This may not be a winnable week without CMC, you know?
And that's where I think you make those two claims and then see if anyone drops anyone dumb, like
Yeah.
makes a terrible decision and drops somebody amazing.
Yep.
And then you try to pick those up. And then if they don't, grab like Terrace Marshall.
All right.
Or, and I know that doesn't fix the running back thing, but you can look at Kenyon Drake depending on how things are going. I don't think anyone's going to pick him up right now.
Yeah, I mean, I could also drop Pacheco for a wide receiver if we liked them better, right? It's a flex spot. I've got Jamal Williams and Deonta Foreman as my RB1, RB2, just pow, 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 ground and pound. Rah. That's how I picture those guys. Of like, we don't need to catch passes, we run the ball.
Perfect. Yeah.
So anyway, I don't know that there's an obvious answer. I was really hoping to have Rashad Bateman against New Orleans for this week, and it's not gonna happen. So I'll keep you updated, but just so our viewers know, that's the situation, and
Yeah.
we'll go from there. I don't think there's an obvious thing besides we're going for Claypool and Palmer.
Yeah, well, and see who you've got for your wide receivers after the waiver wire, and then make your plans from there, because
Yeah.
you can make all these plans and have everything go up in smoke. But I think see what you've got and then make decisions at that point.
Okay, well, I'll reorder these waivers so that it's Claypool and Palmer as our 1A,
Yeah.
1B.
Yep.
And I don't know if I'm brave enough to pull the trigger on Carolina over Kansas City. But I think I'm gonna. So,
I like it. I'm saying do it.
and you know what? My favorite part of this podcast that we do is where we make really dumb choices and it costs us.
Oh, yeah. And so every week we can be like, what were we thinking when we said that? That was idiotic. And then we go ahead and make some more bad decisions, which we can then go on in the next week after that and really slag off what we had done in our previous weeks of work.
It's good. It's good. Well, I'll end with the, is there anything else you want to say before I end with something really encouraging?
At some point I wanted to have like a bit, I'm still workshopping it. So
Okay.
maybe next week we'll see.
Okay. Well, I'll look forward to that. Should add some spice back into the life of this
Yeah.
podcast.
We need it.
We need it so bad, especially when we go for however long we've been going so far, 49 minutes, you know?
What does it matter when they only watch 10 seconds?
Hey, those are the best 10 seconds of their day. I just wanted to end with two things. One, this is another week for us to jettison some rejected trade offers out there. I don't know who's tradable at this point, especially this week. I can't part with any players. So I'm going to try and trade all my players on buy except for McCaffrey and see if anyone bites. Ooh,
Brandon Ayuk. Guys that'll be on like buy next week.
I'm gonna offer.
You can keep that rolling.
I'm gonna offer Ayuk for what's his name? Who's now on for Devontae Adams, since he put up a goose egg against Las Vegas. I'll be like, hey, what would you rather, a bye week or a goose egg? Just see what happens. Anyway, I wanted to end.
That's a terrible idea, but I love it.
I wanted to end with the percentage of people that started each of my players that are starting next week. First is Justin Fields at 16%.
Hey, that's going to go up.
It is.
That's going to go up.
Then you have Wandale, who's at 0 because he's on bye.
But you're empty wide receiver anyway, slot. So that doesn't even count.
We have Deonta Foreman, who's at 59%. That's two.
Right.
Number 2.
Chase those points, baby.
Jamal Williams at 47%, which is higher than I thought. Like, well done, managers. Like, crushing it.
That's right.
Kyle freaking Pitts, my number 1 most started player at 73%. Way to hang strong, managers.
Just never give up.
Gus Edwards at 26% if he plays. And Isaiah
related. That's why he's at 26.
And Isaiah Pacheco at 3%. So
yeah, but they don't have return yards because they're playing not standard scoring.
This is the way.
This is the way.
All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us for episode 9 of the Late Shifts. I'm Dan. This is Cam. And as we say at the end of every podcast, catch line, phrase, words.
We do? Do we have one?
No, that was it. It was catch line, phrase, words, because we'll have to dub something else in.
Oh, right.
Because we don't have something yet.
There you go. You got something to work with now.
Lark.